What is up, everybody? My name is Whooped. This video is a win and learn and film study combination. I just played in the NA weekend tournament and had a pretty solid run. I finished second place overall, which is my highest finish in a weekend tournament. The point of this video is to go over how I tried to counter Raidens. They're everywhere right now, absolutely everywhere on the ladder and in tournaments. And I've been asked to go over how I countered them, and so I just thought I'd give my 2 cents, just in case you're curious. So this replay is against an absolutely insane player, Arctorius. He's ranked 150 in the world in 1s and 30th in the world in 2s. The dude is an absolute monster, nice guy as well. Going into this match, my MMR is 1,835, and so far in Season 2, I have 14 wins and 7 losses. Our win rate is 67%, which is actually pretty good considering we're definitely not going against slouches. If you enjoyed the content, consider liking, subscribing, or joining the channel as a member. As usual, I'll be giving myself a grade at the end of the video. If you want me to grade your replay with brutal honesty, the form can be found in the description. Our opponent is Fire Badger Specialist with Arclights and Steel Balls, and we are Fortified Specialist with Stonecrawlers and Fangs. I'm actually going to come out with Crawlers instead of Arclights. Normally I'd open up with Arclights right now, maybe even Marksman, but I decided to go Crawlers instead. We are 2-1 as Fortified Specialist, and 1-0 with Stonecrawlers and Fangs. Fortified is actually my favorite starting specialist. We aren't very good against Fire Badgers apparently, and this is our first game against Steel Balls and Arclights. I ran the numbers through my system and our win probability is 52%, which I'm actually a little surprised about, but I double checked it and the math is mathin'.
Hopefully there are storms left to target Arclights. Oh no, it's not working. It's not working. Power down. SOS.
The round didn't go how I wanted, but you know, it is what it is. I went ahead and grabbed mass-produced Scorpions, and my opponent grabbed redeployment. The reason I went with mass-produced Scorpions is because he has Steel Balls that are going to be putting a little bit of pressure on us. He also is Fire Badger Specialist, and I figured, you know, if one of those two things become a problem, or maybe even both, it'll be good to have Scorpions without having to pay the 300 cost. Because right now the game's not setting up to be super tanky, so we don't need the 300 cost Scorpions. You know, we're not going to have to take down something like a fortress. We're really only going to need to be able to take down medium units, and I think it plays that role really well. Additionally, if we get into a range war, then we can put Seed Scorpions, you know, back here that can actually hit his line and not be shot down by anti-missile. So
you can see how there's essentially nothing left until they get all the way to these Fangs. There was nothing left but high-value targets for them. And Arctorius has won round 2 as well. Whoops.
I have to take 4 marksmen if you see 4 marksmen, of course. Alright, so I dropped the Scorpions. The reason I put the Scorpion right here is because he can shoot anywhere on the flank. Right? And with redeployment, he can put the Fire Badgers anywhere on the flank without having to have the spawn delay because it's staying on the flank. And so I go ahead and put the Scorpion in the middle. And so basically I don't really care where he puts his Fire Badgers because we'll be able to cover it with the Scorpion. Now that being said, it's still going to take a while, so it is going to draw a lot of stuff over there, and we do not want that. But, you know, it's only round 3, we can only do so much. And I go ahead and I get Defense Enhancement 1. And so, you know, with cost control, or excuse me, with mass-produced Scorpions, we go down by 20, but then we go back up by 15. So we're really 95% of our health. Percentage in this game is additive, not multiplicative. Alright, so we're handling the flank, but just not that fast. He's getting a lot of pressure with the Steel Balls and his flank, and just having, you know, a bunch of Arclights behind it. It's a lot of pressure to deal with. We're in a pretty good spot though, ultimately, as far as like building a foundation goes. Because the more Scorpions we add, like, you know, these were just 2. Once we add a couple more, I think we'll be able to take care of the flanks faster, and we'll get to the main fight faster. So I take the shield airdrop, and I want to place the airdrop back here so that it covers my Mustangs if I put them down, but also so that I'm close enough to the tower where if he puts pressure off the edge, I can have something right here. But at the same time, I don't want his steel balls to run in and take the shield, right? Trying to get the tower. Go ahead and get more arc lights, get range. You know, I try to get range by round 3, but sometimes, you know, it's just not in the cards. We had to get scorpions out. And so we got range on round 4. I go ahead and take care of this flank, you know, trying to shut it down pretty fast.
So, right, there's going to be one Fang and possibly one Scorpion in the way as these level 2 steel balls come storming into tower. Scorpion shooting the crawlers. That one Fang was a hero slowed down the steel balls. These Fangs arrived just in time. But level 2 steel balls are your chaff clear. Hold the line. Hold the... Oh, they did not. And here is actually, if Whooped were to offer me a rebuttal, here is why he didn't put that over the tower, to ensure that it doesn't go down to steel balls. So the shield will survive to next round, even if the towers did not. Whooped at 21.99.
I take the subsidized Mustangs because one thing I struggle with is going against wasps. So basically, I'm just giving myself an opportunity to build Mustangs for cheaper cost in the future. So maybe we can elite recruit them for a little bit less of a cost. Now, he actually puts down at Raiden, which I did not expect. But it does make sense. They're very strong right now.
Fire Badgers out of that corner. The corner is dealt with much more quickly. Now you've got a packed clump of steel balls getting hit by... Yes, even if these are mass produced, they will still delete your pack of steel balls if it's taken any damage. The line holds. The Raiden, the only survivor to get through to that tower over there. There are still some marksmen trying to handle it. And they do. Round 5 goes Whooped's direction. Now, Arcturus has won every round except this one. Whooped just did 1,200 damage.
So I take the Rhino. Now, what I should have done is take the Rhino and sold it. You know, one of the things I'm trying to do is get tankiness for the Raidens. I tried to be a little greedy and, you know, have the Rhino run up. Even though he has steel balls, I thought maybe there's a chance that our Scorpions could actually kill the steel balls before the steel balls kill our Rhino. And so I didn't sell it, which would have further developed our marksman, got us into anti-air and EMP faster. So I delayed myself by a round. I should not have done that. So learn from my mistake. If you get a drop, go into, you know, your win condition. Don't try to be cheeky about it. So right here, yeah, I was hoping my Scorpions would take out his steel balls first, but, you know, it wasn't the case. And so I immediately knew, yes, I have to sell it. I should have already sold it, but you know, sometimes you try things, they don't work out. It is what it is. But overall, we're still doing okay. Our marksmen are still doing pretty good. If we had anti-air, we definitely would have won this round. So I immediately sell the Rhino, like, you're getting out of here. And then I use the funds to upgrade the marksman, get anti-air and EMP. And then with the Javelin, if you didn't know, if it's 4 spaces or less, right? If it's less than 5, the Javelin will hit it. 5 spaces or higher, then the Javelin will not hit it. It'll only hit one of them, not both. And so I thought he thought I would do that, you know, go for this target over here. And so I switched to my secondary target. Unfortunately, he redeployed the secondary target and mobile beaconed this one. So it is what it is. I also thought about taking out the steel balls, but I thought maybe he'd sell them as well, knowing that I'd probably sell out of my Rhino. I don't know. But the important thing is I sold the Rhino and I got anti-air and EMP on the marksman. We don't need to talk about how badly I whiffed that Javelin. But even though I whiffed, the round is still going pretty well. So just imagine if I actually stuck with my original target and hit both. Man, that would have been crazy. So I think two things are going to happen. Either they're going to go wasps, right, with shields, because I don't have a lot of like I don't have a lot of fast target rate anti-air. I do have fangs, which are pretty good, but anyway, I think he's going to go shielded wasps 100%, or incendiary bomb Vulcan, right? Incendiary Vulcan, which is why I position fangs right here, because I want the fire to, you know, come right here instead of where everything is for us. I also shield anticipating the oil because I think he's going to go incendiary bomb. And so I ended up taking the Mustangs and placing them in the back to handle the wasps. We also have a ton of fangs, and I gave them shields to handle the wasps. And so we were prepared for this round. We knew what was coming. You know, again, just build up the board, have a strong foundation.
Answer to the many marksmen is shielded wasps. So the marksman will spend a lot of time targeting those wasps. But also the fangs are a pretty good answer to the wasps. They outrange them, and they are also shielded. So shield wasp loses to shield fang, and I think we're back down to the same battle we were at last round, which went Whoop's way. Is that what happens here? These guys are still alive. Now that one's EMP'd. That one's EMP'd. And whoops GG. The line has held again, sir. Is it enough? It is.
And that is enough by 10. Real quick, I'm going to give myself a grade, and then I'm going to get into tips about countering the Raiden. Overall, I'm going to give myself a C+. My chaff game wasn't the greatest. My chaff clear wasn't the greatest. Our middle was weak to medium threats like the steel balls. I waited to sell the Rhino by 1 round, which means I was delayed in investing in our marksman by 1 round. And I took subsidized Mustangs, but I never used that card. So there's a lot of things that I think I can improve on. The reason I think I at least deserve a C+ is because I built a decent board. I hard countered a strong unit against a strong player. I anticipated the Vulcan threat, and I anticipated the shielded wasps. And even though we started off a little rough, we stuck true to our game plan and we stabilized, which allowed us to walk away with the dub. Okay, now let's talk about the Raiden counter. There are 2 types of counters: direct counters and composite counters. Direct counters are a 1-to-1 ratio. Like, they have storms, you can get AM on Mustangs. They have storms, you can get a missile device. You know, something that counters it very specifically. Mustangs against wasps, for example. That is a direct counter. Composite counters are much more complex. They require A, B, C, and D to counter something. The example I used last time is hackers. You're going to want extra chaff. You're going to want something with high target rate like the Mustangs, and then you're going to want something with a little bit of punch behind it to get through the shield. So you might have Crawlers, Mustang, Scorpion would be a decent counter against hackers. That is a composite counter. For Raidens, the first thing you need is chaff, or maybe extra chaff. And in this particular case, I went ahead and grabbed the shielded fangs. You need tankiness. So in this case, I use the Scorpions as my tankiness. You need a little bit of HP that can soak some shots. It could also be Fortress, it could be War Factory, or Rhinos. Rhinos are also good if they don't have steel balls. But you need something big that can go ahead and, you know, be the beefy front line and can take some Raiden shots. And the third thing you need is DPS. And in this particular case, it was our marksman, and our marksman with 3 tech. You know, we had range, anti-air, and EMP, of course. You can use other DPS as well. I particularly like marksman. But there are other DPS options that work. I know wasps in combination with rhinos work really well. Mustangs with anti-air and range can work well when they're paired with something like a fortress, especially with fortress and barrier. You have options, but I personally like the marksman. And one of the reasons I like the marksman, especially over all the others, is because the range plus anti-air gives them a significant amount of leeway to hit the actual Raiden itself and not chaff. So you can get some really cool lock-ons. As for a couple tips, one tip I would say is to upgrade your tower, and they're pushing you. You're going to want to get your tower upgraded because the chain will hit your tower and kill it. So you definitely want that to be upgraded so you don't get one shot. The other thing I would say is have your marksman, if you're going to play marksman, right? Have your marksman be back behind the tower. So I could have even staggered it so that I had a couple even further back beyond this. But you're going to want them a little bit back because when it's coming at you, whatever's up here is in range of getting chained, right? And so you want your marksmen to stay back so they stay out of the chain effect. The third thing I would say is EMP. And so if you're going to go Fangs or Mustangs with anti-air to counter the Raiden, that is totally fine. But you might want to consider dropping a couple of Mustangs with EMP so you can turn off its tech. Because Raiden players will go, they're going to go range, right? And chain every single game, right? Range plus chain. And then probably range plus chain plus EMP, because these two are a powerful combo. And so you know if the game lasts long enough, they're going to have these three techs. So you're going to want EMP yourself to turn that off. The fourth thing I'll say is, like in this game, you're probably going to counter shielded wasps. So having just marksman alone isn't going to be enough. You're going to want, a couple Mustangs or a bunch of chaff like I have. A bunch of Fangs. And the last thing I'll say is just plan for the future. There are rounds that I dropped marksman that it wasn't necessarily beneficial for me to do so in that particular round, but I knew I had to build a board that can handle this potential threat later on. And so, you might not encounter a raid in every game, believe it or not, but sometimes you will, and you're going to want to have, at least a skeleton crew of marksmen ready, or a skeleton crew of whatever ready to handle that, potential threat. And in this particular case, marksmen are also good against, arc lights. They're good against other marksmen. They're good against Vulcan. They're good against a lot of things that he can throw at me. And so having marksmen isn't a really bad choice at all. And the same could be said for scorpions. They aren't a counter to Raidens. Obviously, they can't shoot up, but they are tankiness. So having the scorpions to stop the steel balls, for example, still helps me in that future threat problem. And so when you're building a board, just keep that in the back of the mind. Hey, what if they go worms, which is a common thing to do? What if they go Raiden? What if they go fortress? What are your answers going to be? And start building towards, what you think they potentially go to. That's still going to help you a little bit in the meantime. Let me know what grade you think I deserve in the comments and why. A big thank you to channel members for their support. Totati, Ripper, Roxas, Fab, and Jalabanga, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And anybody else, even if you're not a channel member, even if you don't like or subscribe, I still appreciate you being here. I'm Whooped. Thanks for watching.
This is Mechabellum, and it's going down. Whooped.